Okay, class, today we're going to be looking at the volume of spheres. So spheres are actually very unique shapes, and they're very difficult to figure out exactly what the volume of a sphere is. But fortunately for us, Archimedes, a Greek mathematician, already figured it out a long time ago. So we actually have a formula for the volume of a sphere, and the formula, looks like this. It's written as 4/3 pi r cubed. And you're thinking, what? How do I do that in my calculator? So 4/3 we can type in it as a division statement. So when I see this formula, I rearrange it to be 4 divided by 3 times pi times r to the third, which I'm actually just going to do as r times r times r. There is a button in your calculator that probably looks like this, maybe, and sometimes you use a button that looks like this, and then have to type a 3, and we can talk about that in class. But for now, we're just going to type r times r times r, because r to the third means multiply it by itself 3 times. So here's an example here. Remember that r is the radius. Maybe I should label that. R is the radius. So if I look at my first example, every time I go to do a question, I'm going to write down the formula. Volume equals 4/3 pi r cubed. In this case, my r value, remember that radius of a sphere is just from the center of the sphere to the outside. So in this case, it's 9. So when I type it in, it's going to be volume is equal to 4/3 pi times 9 cubed. But we'll type that in as 4 divided by 3 times pi. And in place of, you're like, what's pi? Well, let's actually narrow that down a little bit. Let's type it in as 3.14, because pi is approximately 3.14 times 9 times 9 times 9. You just have to count how many times you type in 9. So try that in your calculator. 4 divided by 3 times 3.14 times 9 times 9 times 9. And you should get a pretty big number, 3,052.08. And now in all the homework and all the quizzes, I'm asking you to round to 1 decimal place. So let's do that for this example. 1 decimal place would be right here. This number is bigger than 5, so it's going to make that number go up by 1. So this is going to be 3,052.1. And the units are cubed, so centimeters cubed would be the units. Let's look at the next example. This one has the diameter is given to us. Remember, the diameter is all the way across the center. We only want the radius, so the radius is half of that. So that's 8 divided by 2, which is 4 centimeters. So let's use that. The volume is equal to 4/3 pi r cubed, which is 4/3 pi times 4 cubed. You could skip that step if you wanted to and just write down 4 divided by 3 times 3.14 times 4 times 4 times 4. And what do we get when we do that? 4 divided by 3 times 3.14 times 4 times 4 times 4. And I get 267.94. 267.94. And a bunch of 6s after that. But I really want to round to 1 decimal place, and I'm going to look at this one and say, is it bigger than 5? No. So if it's not bigger than 5, then this stays the same. So this will be 267.9. And my units are centimeters, so the volume will be centimeters cubed. Make sense? What about a hemisphere? So here we have the following fishbowl is a hemisphere. Determine the volume of the fishbowl. Well, a hemisphere is only half of a sphere. So when I go to do this question, my volume formula is still 4/3 pi r cubed, but I'm going to divide that by 2 because I have half of a sphere. So we'll do that. 4/3 pi times r. Oh, we don't have r yet. R is half of the diameter, so that's 33 divided by 2. So let's check that out, and we get 16.5 centimeters. So that's 16.5 to the third divided by 2. And remember that that just means 4 divided by 3 times 3.14 times 16.5 times 16.5 times 16.5 divided by 2. Typing all that in, 4 divided by 3 times 3.14 times 16.5 times 16.5 times 16.5, and we get, a big number, 18807.03. And so what does that round to one decimal place? Will be 18,807.0, because this is less than 5, which means the 0 stays the same. Units are centimeters, so it's centimeters cubed. One more question. Tennis balls have a radius of 3.5 centimeters. Determine the volume of 3 tennis balls. So the volume of one is 4/3 pi r cubed. In this case, 4/3 pi times 3.5 cubed. Remember, that's 4 divided by 3 times pi, times 3.14 times 3.5 times 3.5 times 3.5. You don't have to write that out. You just have to type it in your calculator, which I'm doing right now. And I get 179.50333333. Lots of threes. So I'm looking at this one. Is this number greater than 5? Is the 0? No, it's not, so it's going to stay the same, 179.5 centimeters cubed. So 3 tennis balls, 3 times that volume is going to be 3 times 179.5, which is 538.5 centimeters cubed is the volume of 3 tennis balls. So, try some questions on your own.